Please welcome the Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Fame kicker, Mr. Nick Lowery.
Good. What's that? So you are doing okay? You doing okay?
Yeah.
You doing okay? Everybody doing okay?
Yeah.
Good. That's great. That's a good spirit. It's nice to be able to say I was the most accurate kicker in NFL history. That's great stuff. I mean, when you hear the story of how many times I got cut before I made it, you know, that's a powerful story. That to me is what makes it real, you know, because you start seeing that every one of you can connect to every one of the athletes that you admire, because not only were they successful or are successful, maybe it's Steve Nash, maybe it was Kurt Warner or Larry Fitzgerald, but every one of them has dealt with junk and dealt with adversity. What's the definition of adversity, guys? Anybody want to give me one? There are no wrong answers. So you just adversity. Take a crack at it.
When I think of it is drugs, pills called steroids, something like that. That's what I think of it.
Adversity is overcoming drugs as opposed to dealing with drugs. Adversity is dealing with thinking that drugs are a bad choice, right? Thinking that the source of your power is with drugs or steroids or something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So my message today to you guys, you're 7th and 8th grade, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a really important time in your lives because you guys are coming into manhood. You know, I do a lot of work with American Indians, and they have some ceremonies that are about coming into adulthood, and they are tough. I mean, literally, I was on the Pine Ridge Reservation. If you, in your geography class, study South Dakota and the history of the Native American peoples, whether you're white, black, Hispanic, or Native American, or Asian, there are histories of overcoming tough stuff and dealing with how we confront becoming a real man, becoming an adult, becoming somebody we like ourselves. And the sunrise ceremony in the Sioux, they don't eat or drink, have any water in the hottest time of the year for days on end. No food, no water. And they have things that clip to their skin that pull out pieces of flesh to prove that they are strong enough to endure pain, because the idea, the most incredible thing they can do in their lives is to become men of honor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, a good teammate. How many of your coaches talk about being a good teammate, right? I bet you every one. I want you guys to think of this football. I'm going to give this football to whoever I think has the best question. Not the most questions, but the best question. The question that brings out something really personal and important. That is insightful, courageous in its honesty. I want you guys to have permission to ask questions that are courageous in their honesty. Not just making you look good, but really just asking questions that need to be talked about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when I throw this to you, okay, like you had our first question. What's your name?
Justin.
Justin, that was a good answer. You know, I want you to think of this football as representing the step that each of us has to take at this time in our lives into adulthood. Is representing scoring that touchdown. Is representing having a sense of purpose in our lives that maybe we never had quite so well before. Being clear about who we are and who we're not. You with me?
Yeah.
All right, so There you go. That's all you do. Just catch it. In other words, this is the opportunity, the choice that we make 1,000 different ways every day. Every day we have 1,000 choices. To do the right thing, to do something that maybe not be wrong, but to make the choice to hear and listen to, if you will, God's message, our purpose, to listen to the right thing, to listen to somebody else, not just ourselves. That's hard to do when you've got all these things going on in your lives. You know, you're just coming into this time of really thinking, what am I going to be in my life? You know, I want to be a pro football player. I want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an artist, a teacher, a principal. You know, all these things, and it's good to think about those things. It's good to realize how important thinking about those things and that you have control over the choices you make is. Because that's really what adults realize. They have control over the choices they make. And the bad side is, if they're bad choices, they have to live with them. If you're driving in a car and you get a driver's license, which you will, I mean, you guys are probably 14, 13, right?
13.
Yeah. Just a couple years, you're going to be able to drive. And you have the lives of yourselves and everyone on the road in your hands. You can make a good choice, or you can make a bad choice and get yourself killed or hurt somebody else just by what you're focusing on. So I want you to think about this football as about those confrontations every day, thousands of decisions. Do I focus in class? Do I not? Am I ready for that opportunity? And I want you to look at it as being ready, because the opportunities to be the best kicker in NFL history, to be the best teacher, the best mother, the best father, the best student, the best athlete, the best leader, those opportunities come to you every day. And my message to you guys is, every decision you make, every single one, will affect directly who you become. Don't think, from now on, don't think that making choices the wrong way will not affect who you are. From now on, really up till now too, but especially now, coming into adulthood, it does change and sculpt who you are. Who's seen a picture of Mount Rushmore? Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, who are some of the presidents on Mount Rushmore? Okay, who else? Abraham Lincoln. Who else? Very good. And one more? Teddy Roosevelt, the man. Now there's an impressive guy. Now, what I love about the idea behind Mount Rushmore is that those faces were sculpted out of stone. It took millions of hands to sculpt the face of Teddy Roosevelt. Millions of little bites in that rock. And that's what you're doing now. Every choice you make, you're sculpting who the heck you are. And if you realize that, guess what? That's scary. Most kids your age don't like that at one point. At one point they're like, I prefer not to think that way, because then I can goof off over here. But you know, if I want to be the best basketball player, I probably do have to shoot 200 free throws every night to be able to hit, 80-90% of my free throws like Steve Nash. If I want to be the best writer, I'm going to have to write. If I want to be the best person, I'm going to have to be the best person. And those decisions are directly related to what you do, what you decide. The reason I tell you this is, I'm going to tell you a story now. I'm not sure if we're going to get to this stuff. This is actually a story. This is a good story. It's my story. It's on ABC World News tonight, and it's about me being the best kicker in NFL history and being cut 11 times by 8 teams. But I really want this today to be more about you guys, okay? Because if I leave today and you really own what my message is, you're going to look back and say, that was really awesome. My life was better because I learned to make choices that mattered. So I'm going to give you this. This is a really cool story. I want you guys to pay attention to this story, literally. I was asked to speak to San Carlos Apache football team. They're called the San Carlos Apache Braves. They're literally on the other side of Phoenix, and they were playing Superior. And they lost every single game. They were 0-7. 0-7. Can you imagine losing every single game? Lose. And every single game was worse. They lost 38-0 and 42-10 the week before I came to speak to them. So, how many of you guys play football? It's cool if you know, but everybody plays sports of some kind here, right? You got to find some sport, something that helps you, because sports can help you make these things real. Okay? So I got in front of them, and I got a picture of me wearing the same jersey. They haven't won a game all year, and I said, give me your attention. I'm going to tell you one thing. I had to go from being a good kicker to the best kicker in the history of the NFL by learning one thing. Simple thing, not easy. Simple thing, not easy. But you have the power to learn this today, and it will change your lives forever. And that is, don't let anybody, teacher, parent, classmate, tell you can't focus. Okay? Don't let anybody tell you can't pay attention. Because you can pay attention and do the things you love doing. Right? You can give all the attention to those things you really love. Right? If you love a music, a song, you love shooting baskets, whatever it is. Isn't that true? Yeah, I need your attention. I need your participation. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Yeah, that's better. So remember that. Find the things you love doing. Because what does the love part, the passion part, do for you? It makes you bring attention to it. Right?
Yes.
So that's what I said to them. Guess what? I learned that if I could bring all my attention to the game and not be distracted. It's like some of you are thinking about doing right now. Most of you are not. But it takes practice, okay? You have the power to do it. I said, if you guys do this and be totally focused for the next 2 hours this game, everything will take care of itself. You just focus on what you have to do. They won. They scored 2 touchdowns in the first 4 plays. They were ahead 21-0 at the end of the quarter. They won that game. They did not lose another game. They won their last 3 games. And then what? 16 of the 22 members of that team played basketball. I got a call a couple months later, 3 months later, from Mary Kim Titla, who used to be, you might have heard of her, she was a reporter, Native American reporter on NBC in Phoenix for 20 years. She said, guess what? Not only did they not lose the football game, they didn't lose a basketball game the whole